my particular journey began at birth, effectively, because I was a very poorly baby and wasn't expected to live more than a few hours. So I was christened at birth, but I carried on and I survived. But obviously, because of my immunity had been compromised, I had to stay in isolation for about 6 months, which cut off a lot of my interactional abilities with other human beings. But it kept the link between this life and the previous life going. I didn't know that at the time, obviously. It was something that's grown upon me over the years. And of course, it left me quite autistic up to about the age of 20, 21. And I couldn't even then talk very well or speak over the telephone or respond very much. A bit like a muted child in a way. But I was quite happy. I had my own inner world. I had my connection to the source. And that to me seemed very natural. And I just assumed everyone else had that same connection too. Why would I think anything different? And of course, I began to realize when I moved through school that nobody wanted to talk about the things I wanted to talk about. So I became more and more circumscribed insofar as being able to share with people. Until, of course, that magic day when the magic of Findhorn book dropped through the letterbox. I'd belonged to a book club in my early marriage years. I got married at the age of 20, 2 children by the age of 24. My dear wife has been with me ever since. We're 53 years married now, but quite stormy years, as some of you have explained. It's not an easy transition, moving from the normal life, as people might call it, into the Findhorn way of life. And after getting in contact with Findhorn, I was about the age of 26, 27. I just wanted to be there. And I worked in the centre of Sheffield at the time on a steelwork job. I was an engineer there. They wanted volunteers to work in Scotland, in Inverness, to go to a bridge there. Of course, I'd been yearning to get to Findhorn. I didn't know how I could. I couldn't afford to, just pack in work. I had kids and a home and all the usual bills to pay for. So this was a godsend, very real godsend, asking for people to transfer with all expenses paid. And of course, I was there within 3 days. Much to the distress of my wife and children, who, it was 450 miles away. And suddenly their dad had disappeared, and quite happily so, I guess. But not all was lost, because within a few weeks of arriving at Inverness, the local authority offered me a council house, and the family joined me there too. So there we were, happy families living in Inverness and able to just nip up the road to Findhorn just about every weekend I could. And obviously become very well immersed in the Findhorn way. And of course that is basically it in a nutshell. But I had a parallel life running along beside this Findhorn experience, insofar as I had all these connections too to my inner worlds of being, these unseen guides and angelic beings and all the other sort of what we call them subtle beings these days. So I've carried on that sort of connection and evolved it, and it's led me to the present day, in which I'm very much interconnected with the different levels, at the same time as obviously finding myself now as a facilitator for the Resource People Network. And I've explained that because that was another strange coincidence insofar as Jeff asked for anyone who was interested in taking over the role. When was it last December, wasn't it? Just last November, December. And I just sat with that. I didn't respond straight away. But going back to the evening of Dorothy's passing, I had a very strange experience with Dorothy. I was retiring for the evening about 11 p.m. And she came to me and followed me up the stairs and then sat at the end of the bed whilst I was sat at my end. And I just embraced her with love, and wondered, why is Dorothy here? What's she come here for? What is the purpose? And just at the moment that I embraced her and sent her love, she just disappeared. So all of that time up until December, when Jeff asked about people volunteering, she came at the side of me again in the living room, beside the computer, and said, "You know what to do." And all that time I'd been wondering why she'd made that visit. So I just answered, "Yes, okay." It wasn't, if you like, it was a little bit of pressure from above. And of course, I've always taken notice of those very obvious promptings in my life, which have led me right the way through to the present day. So here I am as the resource person, Focaliser. And of course, it is very much a love in action service. And of course, I'm giving it all that I can for as long as I am able to. And so thank you all for listening. Thank you.